So welcome, Paul Eiding and Dan Gilvezan. All right, welcome. Welcome to your panel.
Thank you.
What panel things would you like to say?
Should we give a little of our history and then we'll open it to questions?
I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. And then I'm here. You want some history? Okay. You don't really care about my personal life.
I do.
My life started when I met my wife. She's here, so I got to say the right stuff. It's actually true. I am originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I was a music major. Didn't do theater or anything like that. I did some stuff in college, but it was more about music. I was in the military and ended up in a musical group in the military. I worked with a gentleman who was an actor in Los Angeles. He told me after we did some improv scenes and we'd read plays, and he was a serious actor. His name was John Hancock. He was in the original cast in the original movie Roots. And John told me that, Paul, this is what you should be doing. Maybe he was telling me I was a terrible singer. That never occurred to me until this moment. No. And then I started doing theater, did a lot of theater, and still do a lot of theater. I'm a theater actor first. Did a lot of theater in Minnesota, where I moved, met my wife, and did a lot of commercials, voiceover things, that sort of stuff. Then moved out to LA, got into a play where I played 3 characters, a gentleman who was the casting director and director at Hanna-Barbera at the time. Gordon Hunt, an amazing man. Came and saw the show, told me to come in for an audition. I auditioned for a bunch of different characters, and I started doing cartoons, Saturday morning cartoons. And then the Transformers happened, a lot of video games happened, and luckily I still have them all fooled, and they still hire me. It's amazing. So a lot of video game stuff. Anybody play Metal Gear Solid? You may know? Metal Gear Solid, or let's see, Skyrim, yeah. God of War. Any Blizzard games like let's see, StarCraft, Warcraft, Diablo. I'm in all of those. So just a bunch of stuff. But the most important thing was meeting, getting a chance to do the Transformers with a lot of guys who I grew up listening to. And I was blown away that I was actually working with these men who just were, I thought, beyond me. Okay, that's way enough about me.
Is it up to me now? Well, the most important thing that ever happened to me in my life was meeting his wife. Colleen, are you here?
She's next to your wife.
Wait a minute. Let's have can both of our wives stand for a moment so you may say... They put up with us. These 2 women deserve a lot of accolades. They've put up with us for... How long has Colleen put up with you?
Altogether?
Yes.
43 years? 44 years. Yeah. She introduces me as her first husband.
Yeah. And Joselle and I are only 20, but it seems like 40, I'm sure. Anyway, I was born in St. Louis, so not too far away from where you were, and I did a lot of theater also. I was interested in theater from the get-go. When I was a little kid, I would do shows in the garage and, put up spook houses at Halloween and do magic shows and study ventriloquism, all that, nutty, geeky stuff. And then I went to a fine arts college in St. Louis. And from there, I did a lot of theater on the East Coast. In fact, I spent a lot of time in D.C. And this is the first time I've been back in this area for like 40-some years. I did summer stock in a little tiny town called Middletown, Virginia. Does anybody know where that is? It's just south of Winchester. And that's where I went.
And of course, everybody knows where Winchester is, right?
Well, it's a big city, kind of, big city. That's where I earned my equity card. And I did a lot of theater around here, and then I moved to Los Angeles, as many people do. And I kind of fell off the edge of the earth. What happened? You know, I had worked steadily in theater since I graduated, and I came to LA, and just nobody was interested. And it took a while to really get going. And I was lucky to run into a voiceover agent who decided he would take a chance on me. And there was a show called Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I don't know if you remember. That show was being cast, and everybody in town was up for these parts because this was the first time that Marvel was producing something in-house. Stan Lee came out with a small group of people from Marvel, and so they had licensed their characters out to other companies to begin with at the beginning, and this was the first time it was in-house. So this was a big, big deal. Somehow I ended up with the role of Spider-Man. I don't know how it happened. A lot
talent.
Of it has to do,
it was talent.
And a lot of it has to do with that theater training. You know, it all goes back to the acting. If any of you are interested, we're doing a panel, I think, tomorrow about how to get into voiceover. I would say take acting lessons, first of all. Anyway, that really opened a lot of doors for me, and I ended up doing tons of animation work. And then, of course, I did a lot of on-camera stuff and commercials. And these conventions, I was reminded that we did the first convention. I did my first one in 2004. Long time ago, and they've been just great. I mean, I really enjoy doing this, meeting all you guys, and getting a chance to hear your take on different characters and what you enjoyed, and it's been a real pleasure. So that's me.
Oh, does anybody have any questions for them? Come on up. I guess I missed that. Your applause was too loud. Does anybody have any questions for them? Come on up. Come on up. You can talk here. We're all friends, all 500 of us.
Have you ever worked on Devastator?
You mean the robot, you mean?
Yes.
No, I was not a part of Devastator. Were you?
No.
That was our
Not that I know of. Listen, there are times we do things we don't even know that we're involved.
But thank you for being here.
Well, thank you both for joining us here in D.C. Thank you. Good to meet y'all again. I had a question. Do y'all remember a favorite outtake or blooper during y'all's career that just make you kind of giggle?
Oh, my Lord. That we can talk about?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we got to keep it PG, I guess.
We have mixed company and children here.
You have to understand.
Yeah.
We'll never come to another con. They'll never invite us.
I remember on one session, someone, back in those days, believe it or not, you could still smoke, even indoors, and people were smoking at the sessions. We would have a table read to begin with. First of all, these were 8-hour sessions to begin with. We finally went on strike to get a 4-hour day, which we were happy to win. It was really primarily Wally Burr who created that strike, because he had us in there for 8 hours recording a half-an-hour show. But there were ashtrays on the table, and somebody apparently threw a lit cigarette into one of the wastebaskets, and it started on fire. And nobody noticed it until there was a lot of smoke everywhere. I don't know if you were at that session. It was really weird. They had to clear the whole place out and air it out and then come back. But, strange stuff would happen. There was a lot of comedians and strange people and,
A lot of Chuck McCann.
Yeah.
A lot of very funny people.
And musical people. I said this in the book that I wrote about my experience. Scatman Crothers, we would be out in the waiting room, and Scatman would bring his guitar or his ukulele. He'd be scat singing, man, and I remember thinking, they're paying me for this. I mean, people pay money to come and see Scatman perform, and he was there with us. So it was a remarkable time. It really was.
Yeah, there was the one I've talked about before. I remember when we were doing, I think, the movie. Well, there's a point where we're all doing the sounds of the Insecticons. the Insecticons are eating metal and brick and whatever. And there you go. And so we're all there.
Auditions are tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow.
Or no, actually today, I guess.
I'm not sure.
All right.
But there's a point where we all have to be making sounds of eating. And we looked around. There was a point where you look around and you see one person going, and somebody else, everybody making insane voices and physicalizations. And it just got to the point where we looked at each other and just realized we are grown men. Some of us studied Shakespeare, serious actors doing this, and we just cracked up. Yeah, and that's amazing. And they paid us.
Yeah, they paid it. And we had a lot. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun.
It was great.
Paul, you just reminded me. After doing a few of the episodes, Wally realized there was a lot of war yelling and a lot of yelling and a lot of screaming and a lot of falling and dying and falling off cliffs and stuff. So he decided to put together, rather than put us through that every time we did a session, he decided to do a character vocal library. So each of us was asked to go through, okay, you're falling 30 feet. You're falling 60 feet. You just got hit. Well, I'll tell you what. You have not lived until you've stood next to Frank Welker. Doing everything under this, burping, farting, just everything. It was unbelievable. As we know, Frank Welker is probably the most talented voiceover actor I've ever had the pleasure of working with. His range is incredible. His ability to imitate celebrities is remarkable. So that I still remember that vividly, standing next to Frank, watching him do that.
Nobody's better.
Yeah,
I worked with Dawes Butler, who was incredible. Every other character in Hanna-Barbera was Dawes Butler, but Frankie wins as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. All right.
9 or so.
Hi.
Oh.
I'm fine. Do you have a question?
Some of mine?
Oh, he's
some water.
Okay. A little water first, then the question.
Yeah, it's the problem when you're wearing all these different layers for cosplay. It's like, you're in a hot and sweaty convention, and you got all these layers. What could possibly go wrong?
Right.
Stay hydrated.
Mm-hmm. Well done.
Lesson for you all. So my question is more that because, especially way back when in the 80s and stuff, that it was that everyone would have to, because of cost concerns and stuff, that everyone would do 6 roles or so for
3.
one single show.
3. We're allowed to do 3 for the same price.
Right.
Yeah. 3 for the same price. You, especially up there, it's Bumblebee, Goldbug, Housewives, Outback, and so my question was that, and especially even doing it doing roles for different shows, did either of you ever sometimes find yourself slipping into a role that you did for one other show, or for on the same project sometimes when you're supposed to be doing one particular character?
Not necessarily that, but I have explained this before. Some of the minor characters, I did Skids and Snapdragon, just a few lines. What would happen is, as we got into the show, at the beginning of the series, they held auditions for the large parts. Did you auditioned, I'm sure.
No, they just called me and I'll
Is that true?
It's Paul
talented.
No, I auditioned for...
Yeah.
But
as the show went on, you'd have a room full of actors, and there'd be a 2-line part for some obscure Autobot that was probably never going to occur again. And Wally would say, who has less than 3? And, you go, I only have 2. Okay, Dan, you're doing Snapdragon. And that's how those roles were assigned, actually, as the show went on. So
there have been sessions, but not necessarily with them.
Yeah, but what they would do is occasionally, because you would do a few lines of a character for maybe show 24, and then show 30 would come up and you had that same character, they would have to play a reference tape so that you remembered what that character sounded like, because you had done so little of it. So that was done a lot. I can't remember ever sort of getting confused between my characters. No. But they did have reference tapes for us to sort of refresh our memories as to what these characters sounded like.
And that happened even if you're doing a long run. There are times if you have a break for several weeks.
Yeah.
They'll say, okay, let's play this for you, just in case, just so you know where it is.
Refresher, remember.
You know.
Yeah. All right,
Imperative.
stay hydrated.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Paul Eiding. I first saw the season 3 premiere of Transformers Animated 10 years ago, and I noticed that, and when I learned that Perceptor was going to be in it, but then when I saw Perceptor speak for the first time, I noticed it was not what I expected. So, Paul Eiding, how come you didn't get the chance to play your role as Perceptor again like the other G1 veterans have?
Yeah, Paul Eiding. What's the deal?
It makes me very sad. I was surprised too. Here's the deal. I'll try and make this a quick story. Forget about that for a moment. Jump forward in time to Omniverse of Ben 10. Every couple of years, they would change producers, writers, directors of Ben 10. Okay? We were at a point where they brought in this whole new crew that had been together working on other things. Okay? Well, we wrapped Ben 10, and at the wrap party, we're all sitting around having a great time, having drinks and eating, having sandwiches and whatnot. And I'm sitting across from the guys who had been doing all the sound work for Ben 10. And I said, it's great to meet you guys because we never saw them. And I said, well, what else have you guys done? And they mentioned a few things, and they said, we also did Transformers Animated. And I said, oh, you did you? You did the sound design. In other words, you killed my career as Perceptor when you chose to do something else with his voice and use the automated voice. And they said, "Oh no, it wasn't us. It wasn't my choice. No, it was. I don't know. Maybe it was the director." I said, "Well, who was the director?" They said, "It was Matt Youngberg." Matt Youngberg was the director of Ben 10. So I went over to to Matt, and I said, "Matt, what's the deal? You killed my character. You took his voice." He said, "No, Paul, no. It was the producers."
Yeah.
So I went to the producers who were producing Ben 10, and I screamed at them, of course joking, and they said, "Oh no, look, Paul, it had nothing to do with you. It was cheaper."
Yeah, well,
they tried to say it was because he wanted to let go of that side of himself to gain more knowledge and all that stuff. It was for money.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I think you would have made a much better Perceptor than a guy who sounded like he's Stephen Hawking.
That's exactly. It wasn't a person. It was the Stephen Hawking. That sound box thing. That's what they used. But thank you. You're my new best friend.
Oh, you're welcome.
Good afternoon. Wait, is this?
By the way, thank you for dressing up for us. This gentleman's wearing a suit, as a matter of fact, and
Testing.
Just want to mention that.
Thank you for being here. Great to have you here. Question for both of you, actually. How did you figure out your voices for your respective characters? Like, how did you determine your voices?
I don't know about Paul, but I worked with Wally. Wally Burr was our director, and when they had the original auditions for the show, they actually had character models, what they call model sheets, and there were pictures of the characters, and then they would have like a small section of dialogue, maybe a paragraph of the character speaking. And thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
And we were asked to pick a few and then go in and work with Wally. And I ended up, I probably read for Prowl, and I think the lighter voiced characters. There was no way they were going to use me for Optimus Prime or Megatron. Those are big voice guys. I'm light voice guy. So I work. Basically, you work with. Where'd my questioner go? Where'd he go? Oh, okay. So yeah, you work with Wally, and Wally would say something like, "Okay, give it a run," and then you try it, and you say, "Okay, make him a little more streetwise. Roughen him up a little bit." So you drop the G's off the end of your words. "Hey, what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking you're good." Okay, make him a little younger. "Oh, you mean up in here?" "Yeah, kind of like up in there. Now keep the street and add a little gravel." "Oh, you mean like kind of like this?" So he would work you into a certain area, and then when he was happy with it. And understand, he'd had a lot of meetings with the producers and the writers and stuff, so he knew these characters much, much better than we did, because we were just being introduced to them. So working with Wally, you would sort of come into a certain area where he was happy, and then it would be sent to the producers, and they'd say either yay or nay, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And for me, I wish I could remember exactly, but what I remember is that they wanted a kind of an absent-minded professor kind of guy, and I don't think they said English, but I just decided to go that way with that just to hint of a bad English accent, and they were happy with it.
It was really an excellent choice. It really was for that character. It was a wonderful choice.
Because they wanted him to set him apart from everybody else.
Yeah.
And that really did set him apart. Later, somebody said, "Were you doing C-3PO?" And it was like, how dare you?
No, I was doing Anthony Daniels.
Right, exactly.
C-3PO?
Yeah, it's like C-3PO. What are you doing? Anyway.
Hi, I have a separate question for each of you. Paul, in the show prior to the movie in '86, Perceptor was always the scientific one, but did you find it a little strange or different where all of a sudden in the movie he's talking in these long sentences that people they keep asking him, could you dumb that down?
It was interesting because the only thing that was tougher was, you want me to say what? Okay, what does that mean? Don't worry about what it means, just try and figure it out. So it took a little time just to put those words in your mouth. But after doing Shakespeare, that sort of thing, it does get there. Like when you listen to the guys who do all the Star Trek people, there's a reason why most of those folks are also Shakespearean actors or have done a lot of Shakespeare. It makes it easier to get those words working out of your mouth. But that was the only thing. Other than that was... Listen, an actor is always happy when they have more words. Let's be honest. It's, I get to talk more? Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Here's how you go through a script. My line, bullshit, bullshit. My line, bullshit, my line, bullshit, bullshit.
And if you ask, a lot of actors will never read the entire script.
Yeah, just the, yeah.
They'll read, where am I? I'm in there. Okay.
Well, one of them is sitting to your right, as a matter of fact.
I understand that part of it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks. And Dan, about Bumblebee, well, first of all, I just want to say I grew up in the generation where Bumblebee actually talked, so thank you for that. What do you think was it about the original Bumblebee that stuck with all these people that he's become almost at the iconic level along with Prime and Megatron? I mean, sorry, Paul, but Perceptor's not making a movie, so...
No, I'm with you.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Let me at him.
Yeah, easy.
Hold me back. Hold me back.
Actually, that character, I'm not surprised by it because he was actually designed, he was Spike's best friend. And Spike was kind of the link to the audience, to all you guys who were watching. He was the human who were kind of the link to you guys. So by being the best friend of Spike, he became sort of more involved with you, or you became more involved with him, I think. Plus, he was the little guy, he was the smallest, and he tried the hardest, and his attitude was like, and he was little. So were a lot of you guys when you were watching it, And so I think there was a lot of relating on that level, that he was the small one, but he was always trying to, to prove himself. He was also, somebody asked me today, did you did you look up to Prime as like a father or a brother or a grandfather? I said a father. He was like a father figure to Bumblebee. So I think that there's those elements, I think. Plus, he's just a fun character, just a lot of fun. So I think that's why.
Thank you.
Thanks.
As opposed to Perceptor, that was not fun at all, was he?
Hey guys, thanks for being here.
He was only intelligent. The most intelligent of the Autobots.
Yeah, they'll punch that.
Okay, I'm fine.
How you guys doing?
Yeah, all is well.
This question is for Dan.
Yeah.
So in the movie, there's a scene where Unicron's eating Moonbase 2.
Yeah.
And Bumblebee and Spike are, getting ready to be eaten. And then Spike utters those famous lines.
You're going to ask me about that, aren't you?
Yeah. So my question to you is, was that actually in the real script or was it an ad lib?
Okay, there's a lot.
Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Could you answer the question in Bumblebee's voice, recollecting the event?
No to that. I would, but I'm not going to. How about that?
Okay, that's fine.
I asked Scott Brownlee, who was our recording engineer. I had run into him, actually. I did an interview with him, which is really kind of fascinating. And he talked about that. And there's a couple of stories. One that it was in the script, and the reason it was in the script was because they wanted a PG rating so that they wouldn't, so that the older kids wouldn't think, the 12-year-olds wouldn't think it was a baby movie. So there's that theory. Then there's the second theory that just Corey came up with it on the spot. I don't know because I was not at that recording session. I did my lines for the movie separately. I assumed that when the group was involved, I had something else booked or whatever, so I wasn't able to do it, which made me very sad because I always like to be with the gang. So there's a couple of theories, and I don't know which one's correct. I really don't.
I heard that it was.
That it was in the script?
It was in the script because of the PG.
Flint Dilley would probably...
And it was Flint who told me that.
Okay, well, then Flint, I would say, would probably be the authority on that. So it was in the script.
Yeah.
How you guys doing?
Hey,
all
fine.
is well.
I'm not too worried about. I'm a little worried about Paul, but I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Well, I'm not gonna piss him off.
It's out of me.
Well, if you guys, with your original characters, if you guys ever wanted to redo your characters in a future Transformer franchise, will you guys do it again?
Are you kidding?
In a live action sense, Bumblebee is beeping now, and Perceptor is people are saying he's a legacy or something else, and he's barely seen anymore.
No.
We would. I can't speak for Paul. I think I can speak for Paul. We would love to revisit those characters. Are you kidding me? Why don't they stage a G1 throwback series, maybe a limited series, a Netflix series?
Yeah.
So if they with the live action Bumblebee, if they say Bumblebee can talk again, and they brought Perceptor, and they say, "Can you guys come back?" Will you actually 100% do it?
Yes, of course.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah,
in a heartbeat.
Those characters. I can't speak for Paul, but I'm sure this is the case. Those characters are very close to our heart. We spent a lot of time with those characters, and they've been very good to us over the years. Yeah, obviously.
I'm sorry. What's interesting is what's happening in Los Angeles now is that. Perceptor has appeared in a couple of games. I've never been asked to audition for Perceptor. What they're doing now is, in fact, they've done it with one character. Whoever has the most Twitter followers or the most Instagram followers. Yeah. I'm not kidding you, folks.
Yeah.
If you've got 500,000 Twitter followers and the next person only has 50,000 or whatever, doesn't matter. They assume that you're going to have a built-in fan base. Yeah. So that's what's happening.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not about money, it's about numbers.
Yeah.
Twitter handle so we can all follow you. Yeah.
I'm simply at Paul Eiding.
I'm not even on Twitter.
You're only on Facebook like Pierre Collin?
Just Facebook, yeah. Just Facebook. I actually did Bumblebee in a game, I guess three...
Devastation?
Transformers.
Yeah, because I played that game. Excellent.
So and that was great fun. Although in a video game you're recording separately, you never with the gang. So I never saw Peter or Frank or Michael Bell and Greg, who were all in the cast.
Well, actually, that's good.
Probably
you don't want to spend time with Michael Bell and
maybe
Greg
right.
Berger. No.
But yeah, heck yeah. Would you like to hear us do those characters again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, and my Twitter, I lied. My Twitter is the number 4, Paul Eiding, because someone took Paul Eiding. And my Instagram is my name, @Paul Eiding.
The number 4, Paul Eiding.
How many followers do you have?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Okay.
15.5K.
Yeah, I have not, I have not been pushing it.
Plus 1.
3, 4. Oh, you're very kind. Yes, sir.
Hi, gentlemen. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Dan, your new Twitter name is G1 Bumblebee Dan Gilvezan. Just wanted to let you know.
It is?
I just created it for you. So.
Thank you. Thank you. How many followers do I have?
1.
Okay.
So yeah.
It's a start.
No, but seriously, thank you all so much for being here, first of all. Wanted to, it's not, I don't think I had so much of a question, just more of a comment, actually. And I need to steer away from Transformers for a minute because you all have done so many characters, and I'm a huge fan of everything that you all do. Dan, one of my favorite characters you do is, of course, Spider-Man. But my favorite episode that you did was Along Came Spidey. And I love the monologues in that particular episode, particularly when Spider-Man felt like he should give up. And I just wanted to tell you that still touches me right here. That particular scene with you, Iceman, you, Kathy, and Frank. Yeah. That still gets to me, because when you get ready to get up, and then and then they encourage you to go back into it, and then I know it's all scripted, but still. It's our era, and it was such a moving scene.
Well, that's our job, to bring these things to life.
Yeah, exactly.
As best we can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I always loved the Colonel, Metal Gear Solid. And, that's my favorite character in Metal Gear Solid. So that's
Colonel Campbell. He's the man I want to be.
Yeah. But yeah, and I also wanted to say, your moniker is some of my best friends, for Bumblebee, some of my best friends are human.
Yes.
Some of my best friends are Autobots.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Could you come to my house every morning and just kind of, as soon as I wake up, just kind of pump me up a little bit? It'd be good. Thank you.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine.
Ladies, thank you for allowing them to come here. I know it's really hard, but thank you so much for allowing them to come. This question's for both of you. Since doing the Bumblebee and Perceptor and the fandom that you know now, how has it changed you and inspired you in real life?
I'll tell you something. And with, not to get maudlin about this, but I've done a lot of conventions. And to hear from a fan that either physically or mentally or emotionally, I was going through a really tough time, and that show helped me get through it, that's a powerful thing to hear. That's a powerful thing, because as an actor, you're thinking, I'm not doing brain surgery. This is not rocket science. I'm not doing I'm not doing anything for anyone really. To hear something like that is so moving that it really changes your perception of what you have done, what your career was about. So there's that. That's a biggie for me. I don't know, Paul.
Oh yeah, no question about it. I mean. Whenever I hear an actor complain about doing a con or something like that, it's like, number one, shut up. And number two, and I've said it to some of you personally, that without you, we're nothing.
Yeah.
I became an actor because I wanted to affect people. I want to have an effect on them. When you're doing stage, you get that response right away. Either they love you, or they think you're okay, or they don't like your character, or whatever. You know that response. Doing conventions and finding out that something you did, however long ago, has affected someone's life or meant something to them. Number one, it's incredibly gratifying. It's humbling, more than I think you know. It truly is humbling to us and for us. And it's also, and it inspires me to do my best work. It's like, don't think that you're doing something just for a buck, or that you're selling a toy or something like that. That may be what it was. Maybe that's what Hasbro started way back when. It's okay, we're going to sell toys. But it's so much more than that. So I take none of this for granted. And my wife will tell you, every frickin' day, I'm thankful and grateful and humbled by the effect of what we do. And to me, it happens to me. I told somebody earlier that there are moments in your life, it's often when you're younger, that change you or mean something so much to you. I said it earlier. When I first started doing the Transformers, a couple of the guys were actors that I had grown up watching. One of them was an actor by the name of Clive Revel. Clive Revel was a Broadway and London star. He was the first Fagin in the musical Oliver. And I was like, oh my God, I'm working with him. And 6 months ago in Burbank, we did another TFCon. And he was there. He's 89 years old. And I went up to him and I said, I don't know if you remember this, but when we first worked together, I was blown away that I'm actually working with you. And he said, oh, dear boy, come here. And he put his hands on my shoulders. He said, close your eyes. I'm going to have a hard time getting to it. And he sang for me the first verse of one of Fagin's songs, To Pick a Pocket or Two. And it took me back. I had chills. And so there are times when a child will come up and say, we'll say, close your eyes, and I'll do Grandpa Max, or I'll do Perceptor or something, a line. And I see the excitement. It's like, I know what that feels like. So we share that, you know. So everything we do, it's like, sorry about getting maudlin, but it's true. We love doing this because we appreciate you. Okay, that's enough.
I apologize for hogging the microphone, but as I told you, gentlemen, earlier, that I just got out of the Navy in June, and I was on my last tour. And when I got into Transformers, like hardcore, it was definitely a hard time in the Navy for me, and you all helped me through it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
We are very close to the 10-minute mark. Since you were waylaid by adorable children, I will try to keep this going as long as possible, but we do have a panel at exactly 2 o'clock. We're going to get through as many people as we can. But if we cannot get to your question, I'm very sorry.
Keep your questions short. We will aim to keep our answers short.
Yes. These guys are available.
Good luck
in the dealer room. They are signing autographs. They're selling things. They would love for you to buy them, as would we. All right, going on.
Or just stop by and say hi.
Yeah.
All right, first off, thank you so much for voicing essentially my entire childhood from age 5 to age 19. I'm 35, so you guys have basically been a part of my life for that long, starting with G1. Dan especially, and Paul. My question is, you guys have both voiced multiple characters in multiple shows throughout your careers. Have you ever seen a character and gone, I want that character, but you didn't get him?
And the shorter answer is yes.
Yes.
Many times. You know, the ratio of auditions to jobs is very low. You go to 90 auditions to get I don't know, 5 jobs, maybe. Other people have.
They actually did back 15 years ago, they actually did a study. It was like 45 or 46 auditions to get one gig. And I don't think it's changed.
And that's part of the game. I mean, you got to learn that early, or you'll drop out, because this game will eat you alive unless you can develop some kind of callus over your feelings.
The work of what we do is getting the job.
Yeah, the fun is doing
that's the work.
Yeah.
And Paul, I'm very sorry Vault-Tec wouldn't let you into the vault.
That's all right. Just be kind to me.
Hello?
Hi.
You don't have to elaborate on this. You can just keep it at a simple answer. But I was wondering, who from the original voice cast, dead or alive, do you miss working with the most?
Oh, Dan Gilvezan.
Whatever became of him?
How about you, Dan?
This guy. Seriously, for somebody who's not here, I miss Chris Lala. Yeah. I still miss him. What about seriously?
I would say another one who's not here is Scatman.
Yeah, the Scatman was awesome.
Because he was just a joy to be around.
Yeah.
Not just to work with, just a joy. There was the life force in him.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You bet.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Do you think Bumblebee's going to get another solo movie?
I'm sorry?
Do you think Bumblebee's going to get another solo movie?
I don't know. I assume that if the first movie did well, which I think it did.
It was so good.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I don't have really anything to do with the films. As Paul said, frequently when a new project comes along, there's a new producer, and they want to make it their own. They don't want somebody's sloppy seconds is basically what it is. So they recast it, or they.
That was a nice groan.
Well, I meant it in the purest sense of the word. So if it makes money and it's popular, I'm sure there'll be more. And I like your shirt, by the way.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. Next in line.
What would be your tip for making movies as an actor? Because I currently made a couple of movies.
You did? Cool.
Yeah.
Did you shoot them yourself?
No, with a friend.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I used to do that how old are you?
I'm 10 years old.
Well, you're ahead of me. When I was about 12 or 13, these were in the days when you had a movie camera which would go and there was film in it, and you'd have to send it to the drugstore and wait to get it back to see if anything good happened. You're so lucky today. Keep doing that.
Yep.
Keep doing that. If you want to be a director or an actor or whatever, keep doing that. Just keep feeding that impulse, because that's where it comes from. We all of us in this business had some sort of need to do it, or we wouldn't put up with all of the CRAP that goes along with it. Mm-hmm. So keep doing it. Keep doing it. And if you're interested in acting, take acting classes, improv classes, voice classes, all that kind of dance classes, everything you can think of. And get well-rounded in the business, and then go for it. And then move to Los Angeles or
become
New
a
York.
producer and hire us.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
It's one of those things is the more you can do. If you can dance a little, sing a little, know how to work a camera, know how to work behind a microphone, the more you can do, the more you will do.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, Paul, this is probably more so for you because Bumblebee has continued to be just like the face of the franchise. I know you guys aren't involved with like the obviously non-voice stuff or any of that kind of stuff, but with like some of the more recent like comics and all that kind of stuff, the demographics have like really been changing for people who are interested in like Transformers. Like you go online and you see a lot more. Hasbro originally marketed it to like, little boys and boy kids and stuff and all that kind of stuff. But I've seen it change a lot in the time I've been interested in it. Have you guys noticed that sort of in your interactions with the fans?
The changing of
the changing of the type of people who will come up to you, because gender.
As time goes on, they're getting older.
Yeah.
And so are we, as a matter of fact.
But seeming younger to us. No, I haven't.
No, not really.
No. Especially not with Transformers. Now, the larger expos that are lots of video game stuff. Yeah, that sort of thing is changing.
Yeah.
But all for the positive. It's.
Yeah.
I was saying to Colin, I said, God, people are so nice here. He said, well, have you been to a con where people aren't nice? And it was like, oh yeah, you're right. There are people that may have attitudes about whatever, but especially Transformers cons. No,
yeah,
I haven't noticed that much of a difference.
I asked that only because I've noticed, because I know that Perceptor himself, who is obviously the character that everyone knows you for from Transformers, has gotten more popular in the online spheres, because even though he's not in the front of the casts anymore.
Now, people are kind enough not to say, oh, by the way, I really like the other Perceptor. I like the other guy. The people, they keep that to themselves.
Yeah.
Which is very kind, and I appreciate that.
All right, we have 4 people left. Let's see if we can get
we have
this.
4
Let's see if we
people
can
and
do
about
this.
5 minutes, so we're going to do this.
We can do it. We can do it.
Okay, so thank you again from all of us for coming, and thank you for the talent and the heart that you bring to those characters. You guys mean so much to all of us, I'm sure. This is a question more targeted towards Dan, and I made the mistake of thinking up a complex question. So if I can stop by your table later to talk about it, that'd be awesome too. But I really loved your book, Bumblebee and Me, and I was wondering what the process was like for writing that, or how it was as as a creator, as a reflection of your life, as a sort of memoir. What it was like for you to write that and create that.
Well, very quickly, the reason I wrote it was because I started doing cons, and in these sorts of venues, I would get the same questions again and again and again. And I thought, why not answer these questions in a book that somebody could buy and then have the questions answered? So, and as far as creating it, I really had to put my mind back there. It was really kind of interesting because, none of us at the time, we've said this before, thought that this was going to have any kind of legs like this. We did tons of shows in the 80s. Most of them are long forgotten. So I had to kind of put my mind back there and sort of remember what was happening. And I talked to some of the cast members, and I said, you remember any stories that might have happened? So that's how I sort of put it together. And I'm glad you liked it. It was fun to write. And a lot of I've gotten really good response from the fans on it, so thank you.
Yeah, it was fun to read as well. Thank you so much.
So since you've both done animation and video games, what is the weirdest ADR you ever had to do?
The weirdest? What?
The strangest, most awkward noise you had to do for ADR?
We're so used to doing all of it. I don't know if it's a stranger, but the one that I hated doing was there was a video game called, and the character was called Baby. And my character, I don't know if this has ever been out. My character, Baby, looked like a baby, except it was 15 feet tall, and Baby had sharp, jagged teeth. And all Baby did through the entire thing was that was it. And so it was one of those things where, oh please God, let's not have another session. I remember going home and telling my wife, it's oh God, I hope this one doesn't go.
Yeah.
But that was it for me.
Same thing with me. Video games are very stressful. I don't even remember the one I was doing, but they had me screaming so much in this, dying in so many different ways. I sounded like this for several days after. I really blew my voice out. It's really difficult work, and it's not as much fun because you're all by yourself.
Yeah.
When we were doing the show, it was a whole room full of crazy people. So it's just nowhere near as fun.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
Hello, I'm back again.
Cool.
What is your favorite song?
Favorite song?
Yeah, that's all I want to know.
All right, okay, there's so many to choose from, but
I know.
Al Green, Let's Stay Together. I'm old school.
Oh, okay.
But, you can pick any Stevie Wonder, and it's also up there.
I like a lot of songs, but one particular favorite of mine is Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles.
Ah, okay.
I love that song.
I like Lost in the Rhythm. All right.
Cool.
Hello and good day. I would like to thank you for shaping the entire span of my life. And I would also like you to know that Paul, Perceptor is probably the second most important character due to the fact that Optimus Prime tried to give him the Matrix, but he refused it.
Yeah.
And then Ultra Magnus took it, didn't want it.
Do people remember this?
But therefore, no one should forget Perceptor because he is the second most favorite character.
Thank you.
And therefore, something should be done about it. So, along the lines of, I'm going to work on becoming you guys someday because you've inspired me.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, man.
Thank you, and thank you all.
Thanks for having us.
This is Goku. Thanks for watching. And remember, don't forget to subscribe. Yeah!